Good morning, everyone. I am Tabitha Hassell with Tabs on Tap. That was my friend Mark Zuckerberg. You might recognize him peeping in on us, right? That's what he's doing, peeping in on us, seeing what's going on over here on Tabs on Tap and across every platform that Meta runs. We're going to talk about that because, of course, Zuckerberg in the news once again. So, gosh, it's Tuesday already. Tuesday. The days go by in a blink, don't they? A blink. We're almost in September. It's almost a holiday weekend. What in the world is going on? But thank you all for joining me this morning on this beautiful, steamy Tuesday morning. Lots to talk about today. Man, I woke up this morning in a complete panic. Kid you not, in a panic. I hadn't been able to get Telegram to work since maybe 9 p.m. last night. And I thought, oh, it's just me. I'm going to wake up in the morning, it'll be fine. Well, I woke up this morning, it wasn't fine. You get the spinning wheel of thinking, and it was just spinning and thinking and not connecting. And I kid you not, I got up and I thought, oh my God, we all know that over in Paris, they arrested Pavel Durov, the founder and CEO of Telegram, over censorship because he doesn't censor us. So therefore, he's under arrest, which is exactly what it comes down to is censorship. Of course, we're going to talk about a lot about censorship today and other days. However, when I saw that this morning, I thought, oh my God, they took Telegram down. He said he had a plan of action in case he's jailed and they try to take it down, that he has a business partner that's going to keep things up and going. And I kid you not, I'm thinking, how am I going to get a hold of Elon Musk? What am I going to do? And it goes to show that one of these days, it will be for real. I posted something on Facebook. Trish, I don't know if Trish listens to the show, but she's like, mine works fine. And I'm like, okay, well, if yours worked fine, mine probably does too. And I deleted the app, put the app back on my phone. It still didn't work for a little bit, but eventually it did. So I don't know what was going on. But you know what? Let's not wait until it really happens. Look, I even got my camo on, just in case, just in case, because things were about to go down this morning. I think everybody has their breaking point, right? My breaking point is the loss of our First Amendment. So good morning, Allison, Glesna, and Jennifer. Happy to have you all here. I kid you not, we all have a breaking point, don't we? I don't know what yours is. Mine is absolutely taking away our amendments, taking away our freedom of speech, taking away the right to bear arms. And it was close this morning. It was close. But you know what? Today wasn't the day, but there will be a day, right? There will be a day because they are coming after Elon Musk, Chris Pavlovsky from Rumble, and of course, Telegram and Pavel Durov, who's in prison. So, some of the things we're going to talk about. Good morning, Dottie, Karen, and Tina and Kim. So, a lot of things we're going to talk about today. I want to talk a little bit about Telegram, and because the UK, the one of the leaders in the UK is warning Elon Musk, don't come to Europe. Even though I have issued you a summons to appear in court, do not show up in Europe because if you do, you'll be arrested. Rumble leader Chris Pavlovsky on the run. He fled Europe as soon as he heard about the arrest of Durov. So a lot going on. Good morning, Brian. Allison says, take out our freedom of speech and our firearms, and they have us right where they want us. That's exactly right, Allison. You know, you take away your First Amendment rights, and then what? The rest of your amendments very quickly follow. And then what? You know what? You suffer in silence because you have no way to speak out. They'll take away every right you have to speak out. So at some point today, I'm going to be playing the video of this politician over in Europe telling, literally warning Elon Musk, do not come to Europe. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Zuckerberg. You just saw him a few moments ago if you were here at the beginning of the show. I think that's funny because he's always peeking in, isn't he? And he came forward. He said that the Harris Biden, it's not Biden Harris, it's Harris Biden, asked him to censor Meta platforms. And I will say that I don't think Facebook, and I don't do a lot on Instagram, but I don't think that the meta platforms are quite as bad as what they were in 2020. In 2020, everything I posted, everything. I was in 2-day jail, 24-hour jail, 6-day jail, I think 12 days one time. And that hasn't happened to me lately. They've removed some of my posts. They've asked me to remove my own posts at times, but not nearly as bad as it was. So I'm wondering if maybe they're getting a little bit more on board because guess what? Zuckerberg, he likes his money too, doesn't he? He's building what? He's got that beautiful palace in Hawaii. He's got that big underground bunker that he built. He's got a lot going on. I think he's giving us a little leeway because he likes the money. Good morning, Adrian and Linda. So that we're gonna get into that. We're gonna talk a little bit about the U.S. dollar. We're gonna talk about the heat wave that's coming through. Who knew that corn sweat was a thing? Jay says I had multiple 30-day bans this year, Jay, or last year. Sherry says I was in FB jail 30 days at a time. I don't know if I ever got 30 days. So Sherry had 30 days. I know I was in there a lot. Now, right now on Facebook, they don't like me. I'm still at this status where my profile is recommended. So if you share the show, they're not going to zing you or ding you for anything. They have messed with me a little bit. They deleted a couple shows because they said it was promoting violence. But outside of that, I haven't had too big of a problem. However, they took away my monetization. So I don't make a single penny off of these shows, off of posts, or anything else. Zilch. They will not allow me to monetize on Facebook. And you know what? That's fine because I'm not here because of the money. That's not what it's about. I want to talk a little bit about Donald Trump today. He once again gave a speech talking about World War III and what's taking place over in Russia, between Russia and Ukraine. There is a lot going on. Iran issued a warning where they're stopping all air traffic over parts of Iran starting September 1st indefinitely. We think maybe that's a preemptive warning to their attack. They said that they are planning very carefully and that we'll see it when it happens. So maybe September 1st is a day. And it wouldn't be surprising that if they didn't center something around September 11th, right? Because that is the day for us where they know so many Americans will all be struggling on September 11th, and that's typically the type of day that your terrorists are going to find to attack you. Jay says everything is still subjective because they never tell you exactly what part violated the community. And not only that, but no, they don't. And they don't tell you what you did wrong. And you used to at least be able to appeal it. You can't even do that now. They zing you, they delete your post, they take away your monetization, and you cannot come back and ask why. You can't demand any answers. You can't have any type of appeal process. It's like that's their final word. Allison Tulsi, yes, 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 Allison, we are going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard because she gave her official Trump endorsement. Trump has stated that he's going to have Elon, he's going to have RFK Jr., he's going to have Tulsi all on his administration. And they're going to come after him, especially after he said the other day he's going to release the Kennedy papers. Man, they are coming for him. They are not going to let that one go. So we've got a lot to talk about today. I want to show a photo of Walls. I mean, how many dogs named Scout does this guy have? Really? There's nothing real about him. There is absolutely nothing real about him. Talk about Dr. Fauci and lockdowns. I knew there was something else I was going to get to today. Dr. Fauci allegedly hospitalized with West Nile virus. I'm hearing a lot of words out there on the streets that there are lockdowns, and I wouldn't call them lockdowns. I would call it maybe a soft lockdown. But there are communities in the United States in which the authorities, local authorities there, feel that the risk of contracting West Nile virus is so serious that they are telling community members to go inside before dark. Because if you go outside after dark and you get bitten by a mosquito, you could end up with West Nile virus. That's happening here in the United States, the UK. I mean, they're starting their pandemic era lockdowns on schools. Things are happening. Don't think they're not. Sherry says 33 states. There's that 33 again. Yep, it's always the number 33. And Adrian, it's the principle of the matter. Things America and they are unjustly discriminating. This is libelous. They are claiming you're a liar. Oh, they call me a liar all the time. But the truth, the definition of truth has changed, hasn't it? Because we know, because we're not brainwashed. We can see it with our own eyes. We trust what we see with our own eyes. We trust what we hear with our own ears. We do research. We don't just read headlines. And they don't like that. They do not like that. And they're used to people watching CNN and MSNBC and all of these other locally programmed shows. And it's all state ran media, of course, and they keep those folks under control. And those of us who, even Fox National, I know some of you don't like it when I say this, even Fox National, it's just the flip side of the same coin. It's just another way that these people, the deep state folks, have figured out a way to cater to everyone because they want your money too. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some good hosts on Fox National, but the deep state, they want your money too. So they're going to give you an outlet to which you think you're getting the truth and all of the news, but it goes so much further than Fox National. They go to a certain point and then they stop. And that's why, of course, Tucker left. They got rid of Tucker because he did go a little, he crossed the line. He went a little bit further into the truth. And look, he is doing fantastic now that he is away from Fox. He's doing fantastic. And we have to go out, and they know we have to go out to these other organizations, correct? For me, I'm on Telegram a lot, I'm on X a lot, I'm on Rumble, the big three that they want to get rid of. The big three. Think about it that way. They are going to do everything they can to take away your ability to research, to your ability to look at news that they don't throw in your face. If they're not feeding this news to you, they don't want you to know about it. And I will tell you firsthand, I have always said I am a researcher far, far above a host of a show, whether it's radio, podcasting. I'm a researcher and a writer. It just happens to be that these days you use video as a platform. Otherwise, I ran a blog called Truth Tellers and a lot of other different things before I got into the line of radio or podcasting. And when you're a researcher, you know when things have changed. You do. You see when things have changed. And I noticed it probably about 6 months ago, 7 months ago, even on DuckDuckGo, which is what I use, that or Brave browser. It changed. I used to be able to research different types of news, and all of a sudden I couldn't anymore. It wouldn't let me do the same type of searches. If I were to search a certain name or a certain law, it would give me the most recent information, but I couldn't go back and look at the information from years ago. It just wouldn't let me. Even when I put in a date range, it just wouldn't do it. And I used to be able to scroll. I have certain search terms that I would use to look up information, some current, some from the past. And those search terms weren't working anymore. They were restricting me. They would give me about 2 pages of news, and that was it. Where in the past, I could see foreign news, I could see all types of things. Not anymore. Robert says Massachusetts in some counties is implementing curfews due to mosquitoes and encephalitis and West Nile viruses. Yes, Robert, it is happening all across the country. Kim White, 2021, I was suspended for a total of 4 months. Wow, 4 months from Facebook for multiple violations. Could you imagine? Yes, I'd be upset too, especially like you said, if you're an advertiser. It's frustrating. Good morning, Stacy. They're going to take away, I'm just telling you now, they are going to take away your right to free speech. It is going to happen. It will happen. And what's going to end up, it's going to go down one of two ways. They have already arrested Pavel Durov, the CEO and founder of Telegram. Why? Because of censorship, because he doesn't censor on the platform. So they claim that he is responsible for drug deals and human trafficking and different things that go on because he doesn't censor his platforms. And while some of these things probably do go on Telegram, I'll tell you where they also go on, and that's Meta, Meta. I got to be careful because they'll cut me down, they'll cut me off if I keep talking about it. But you've seen it, it's there. I don't hear them coming after Zuckerberg, I don't hear it. I'm like whispering. I don't hear it happening. So why? Why are they not coming after him? I don't get it. Because why? Because he censors us. He censors us. That's why. It's terrible. It is terrible. India is asking now that Telegram be banned in India. We know it's happening in Europe. It's going to happen here in the United States soon enough. And when will we have had enough? When will we have had enough? We know they're coming after Musk. We know they're coming after Chris Pavlovsky from Rumble. Why? Because it's a platform for all of us to learn some truth. Now, of course, again, they've rewritten the definition of truth. Now the truth is disinformation, correct? It's disinformation. That's the new word for truth. Every word out of my mouth, of course, on their mind is information. Adrian says, but they won't arrest the actual traffickers. No. who who are the folks that were paying Epstein and paying Ghislaine? Who are those folks? We don't know. Who did they traffic these young girls to? We don't know. They're not going to tell us. None of those people are in jail. They don't really care about trafficking. They don't. They care about preserving their lives. And that's why they're coming after these three platforms. And soon, it's coming. I hope you're ready. It's soon. There will be no platform for free speech. There will be nothing. You will not be able to go online and research what's real. It will be fed to you with a spoon, just like it is to the folks that watch MSNBC and CNN and all the others. Don't think it's not going to happen, because it's going to happen. Robert says, when we want to leave is when they will build the wall. That, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? When we all have had enough and we decide to go, that is when the wall will go up, because you're not leaving. If they started thinking we were all leaving, no, that's not going to happen. Then we would realize when our freedom really ends, wouldn't we? Because they need our money. They can't survive without your tax dollars. I mean, your tax dollars. When you get up every day to work, some of you are probably at work right now. You're working to pay the government. You're not working for yourself. What, 73, 80 cents out of every dollar of yours goes into taxes. You're not working for yourself. You're working for the government. Don't think any differently. Stacy says, I shared a guy on a scooter carrying groceries, and FB said, I broke your community standards by sharing malice software. It's insane. Jay, the world would be better off without social media anyway. No, Jay, you know, social media it has good and it has bad. It's a way to share information amongst people who wouldn't otherwise know. So I think that comes in good. Jay, unrealized capital gains. Absolutely. We know what they're going to be doing to have capital gains. Adrian, they're erasing history again. Yes, every day they're erasing history. Do you guys remember when I played that video from Biden where he says exactly that? He says exactly that. We're rewriting history. I mean, he's telling us because he can't help himself. He cannot help himself but tell us, because when you're elderly and you're going through that phase of life, anything you hear or see, you will repeat. You just can't help yourself. It's not his fault. He shouldn't be in that position to begin with. And right, Allison, working to support illegal aliens. What did we say yesterday? $451 billion of your money goes to pay illegals. They get to live for free, and you get to go and work to make sure they live for free. What do you think about that? They can go out and purchase a home with $0 down, 0% interest in the state of Oregon, and in some areas of California, and probably areas I don't even know about. But no, you're working for that. You're working for it. I'm working for it. We all are. Sherry, Google 3 red banners and look at the DNC logo and Biden Harris logo. I did some research, and I'm going to play this video about Elon Musk here in a second. But I did some research back in 2020 when Biden was running, and I did it again in 2008 with Obama. You can go back and look at the campaign photos, the campaign art that Democrats use these days, and it all goes directly back to communism. And we've talked about Harris's strength of joy. We've talked about that several times now on this show. It is straight out of 1933 Nazi Germany. And I mean, that's just a fact. It's just a fact. We support Ukraine, also Nazis. Don't say they're not, because I can show you countless photos. Countless. I just came across another one yesterday where they have swastikas on their uniforms and on their helmets. and they have the SS next to it. Don't tell me that we don't support communism. It's here. It is here. You can't tell me otherwise. But their artwork goes back to the 30s and when communism was sweeping across the country. They use the same colors, the same artwork. They don't even hide it. Why don't they hide it? Because not a darn thing we can do about it. Pretty soon, we won't even be able to talk about it. We can't do anything about it. We won't be able to talk about it. We're going to suffer in silence. Our day is coming. Don't think it's not. I'm going to play this video really quick. Let's see here. This is, and what's so crazy about this happening is I'm trying to calm down because you have no idea this morning what was going through my mind thinking about what we're going to do, how we're going to fight back when we lose our freedom of speech, because we have to do something. And you know what? We need to do it before we lose our freedom of speech, before, not after. We need to work on it now, right now. So I'm going to show you a video. This is the UK MP George Galloway warning Elon Musk, do not come to Europe.
And after what's happened to the Telegram boss, I strongly advise Elon Musk not to come to Europe, even to the court hearing he has with me in September in Dublin. Don't come, Elon. I've been asking you to come, but don't come now, because you cannot be sure that you will not meet the same fate.
And he will meet the same fate. This guy knows it. We know it. He absolutely will meet the same fate. They are coming for Elon Musk. They are coming for Chris Pavlovsky. They already have Pavel Durov. They came after Andrew Tate, allegedly, according to him. We know his home was raided. They accused him of sex trafficking, human trafficking, and other horrible things. I don't know him. I don't know if those things are true. They're coming after you. It's all about you and I. They don't want us to know the truth. They don't want us to research the truth. They want it to carry on as it is disinformation. That's what communists do. And we're going to be talking to Kasia Staki. I don't know if you remember Kasia Staki. She's a good friend of mine. She's been on a couple of different shows that I've been on as a guest. She lived in Poland under communism. She did. She understands exactly, her being here in the United States. She sees what's happening. She understands what's happening. And I think that she can really talk to you guys and give you some pointers that I can't, about what it's like to live under communism. Good morning, Karen. Jay, I personally don't understand how anyone votes Democrat in today's world. They can't possibly be that ignorant. Yeah, Jay, they can. They can, and they are. They can, and they are. You know why? They don't see it. Why? Because they're watching state-ran media. They're having lies spoon-fed to them every single day. It's brainwashing. They really have no idea. They don't. It's terrifying to me that they don't. And somebody else said, 1,000 prisoners freed by Kamala. Oh, man, the things that she's going to do to us. I don't know if there's anything we can do about it or not. I'm trying to change my attitude and be like, yes, Trump's going to win. It's going to happen. We're going to do it, and I hope we do. I hope we all come out in strength and numbers and we do it. I think every single person absolutely has to get out and vote, whether you believe your vote counts or not. I'm a person who believes our vote does not count. However, we still have to go out and we have to cast that vote, because then we have a record, and that will help us. It will help us in the long run. I know you're going to tell me, well, that already happened in 2020. We already had the vote. We already have the record, and they wouldn't hear us in court. They shut us down, and they did. Remember, anytime we talked about the election in 2020, how they shut us down? If you look at the community standards on Meta, it still says that you cannot discuss election interference. That's still part of the community standards. Mary says, fight, fight, fight. That's right. That's all we can do. And fighting, the first way to fight is to get out and be ready and cast your vote. If you're not registered to vote, please register to vote. All we can do is try. We know they control the system. All we can do is try. And you know what? I thought this was kind of funny. Oh, wait, hold on. Crew says, You got to stop with that mixed message. Get out and vote. Win or lose, Trump is our next president. I'm with you, crew. I'm having such a hard time to rally myself. I think I'm after 2020. I'm so disappointed. I'm just so disappointed. I'm still not over it yet. It's sad, but I'm still not over it yet. I know they completely screwed us out of the election. I could go so much further with this, and but I'm not because I've got other things to talk about today. Jay says the interference has already started. Yes, yes, it has. But you know what? We beat them. We beat them. Remember, in 2016, we beat them. We did. And how did we do that? Because we went above and beyond their expectations. We went out in record numbers and we voted. They could not possibly cheat hard enough. They tried. They definitely tried. But they of course, now they're going to go full force. But that doesn't mean we still cannot beat them. But we literally need what they're counting on is that you're not going to vote. They're counting on people not voting because we can see how many people in each county go out and cast a vote. They can see how many people are registered to vote. They're not counting on new people registering to vote because us conservatives, we're complacent. We don't typically go out and try to get people to register. I'll go shopping or these different places and I'll have Democrats approach me with their little clipboard. You all know who they are and they'll come up to you and they say, "Oh, let's register to vote. Let's sign my petition for some crazy, ridiculous, far left law." And of course, I decline and tell them off, but that's just me. And we don't do that. Have you ever seen a conservative or Republican standing in a Dollar General parking lot asking you to register to vote or to sign a petition? No, that's never even happened to me one time. Not even once. We don't do it. We're complacent. They're not counting on us to come out and get the vote. They're not. And speaking of, I mentioned I wanted to mention this because yesterday I talked about that turn out the vote for Trump just a little bit. I didn't really go into detail. I sent them an email and they responded back and they sent me the dates and times and what they're doing with the turn out the vote for Trump. And they're paying people anywhere from it's $40 an hour drive time, $26 an hour work time. And they're asking people, there's nothing going on in Missouri or Illinois, it's in other states. And they're paying you. Now, I think all of the states are full except for Alaska and Georgia, but they would literally pay you to drive to Georgia or Alaska 40 hours, $40 an hour for your drive time. And then once you're actually in Georgia, it's $26 for your work time. They expect you to work 6 hours or more per day, canvassing, knocking doors, trying to get out the vote, literally they're calling it turn up the vote for Trump. And the $26 an hour that will compensate you they don't compensate you. They consider that your $40 an hour for drive time and your $26 an hour for your work time, your canvassing time is enough to cover hotel accommodations, meals, etc. They don't pay you extra for that. So if that's something you're thinking about, reach out to me. You can text me and I'll give you the information. I sent that message back to the person who contacted me asking them if they would be interested in coming on the show to talk about it. Now, since they have all of their bases pretty well covered and they're pretty well fully staffed, I don't know if that's going to happen, but you can text me at 314-546-2677 and I'll send you the link to the Turnout for Trump campaign. And I think it's just turnoutfortrump.com. You can also go there. Pam says, I keep getting emails to donate to Cabana. That's funny. Adrian, does anyone know Jeff Foxworthy's position? He could have a whole series of you might be communist. Well, I don't know. I think he's one of us, but there's so many of them I thought were one of us that aren't. Allison says our grandson is almost 18, and I have been working on getting his friends to register to vote. Yes, they should be. And that's what's great about Elon Musk. He pulls in a lot of those young people who are into crypto, who are into space, and those different types of things. He reaches a lot of demographics that Trump on his own would not reach. And same for JFK, I keep calling him JFK, RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. They both also pull in a lot of folks who might be on the fence or who really weren't sure what to do, but yet they really trust and admire both RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. So we're pulling people in. There's a lot of positive things going on. There are a lot of positives. I've got to get it out of my head. This is my own personal problem. And yes, you might tell me I need therapy. I've got to get it out of my head that I feel like we have no chance. And I don't want to feel that. I want to be positive. And I know that we can do it. I know we can. I know we just have to stop being complacent. We have to get people to register to vote. We have to get them out to the polls to vote. Those are all things we all have to do. We all have to work on it. Cindy, let's see, GM last night, I went to the library for a book signing, and outside the door, there was a table set up to register to vote. Exactly. I think it was the League of Women Voters. I was running late, so didn't have time to stop and talk. Cindy, I hope the League of Women Voters, I'm assuming, are they a conservative group? Are they a Democrat group? I don't know. Maybe you guys know. Pam says, expect the worst and hope for the best. Man, that's all we can do, isn't it? That's all we can do. But we know, but we're having wins, aren't we? There are some wins. We know yesterday a judge blocked Harris's and Biden's latest, and I keep saying Harris, Biden's out of the picture. Have you noticed that, man? That guy has dropped out. He's gone. He is literally gone. That day when I was showing the photos of the U-Hauls at the White House, I was kind of joking and saying, man, that he's done, he's gone, he's leaving the White House. I think it's actually true. He's not doing a darn thing. That man is retired. Even yesterday, on such an important day, the third anniversary of our very much failed withdrawal out of Afghanistan, he's laying on the beach. I don't know. He is laying on the beach. He doesn't care. That man has no idea what's going on with this country. He has checked out. So I'm going to be calling it the Harris campaign, a Harris administration, because that's pretty much what it is right now. Robert gone more ways than one. Mary, he went on vacation after his vacation to California. Vacation after vacation after vacation. He's done. He's checked out. Forget about Biden. He's out of the picture now. Good morning, Paula and Adrian. So how about if Trump designated a couple of states of his voters to vote all for RFK to block these electoral votes? I don't know, Adrian. We got to try anything we can try. We'll have to think about that and see if that might work. We've got to do something. Alan said that he's never really been there. I believe he's never really been there. If any of you can remember the day of the inauguration, do you remember that? The inauguration that happened, what was that, early 2021? And there's always that big procession where they go to the White House and the press is there, and you see the president come in, and the new inaugurated president, and he walks in with his wife, his lovely wife, and and the former president's there to greet them. They show him into the home, into the White House, etc. That did not happen in 2021. I saw it live. I was actually watching it live, uh, probably on Telegram. Probably one of the reasons they want to ban Telegram. I was watching it live, and when Biden and Jill walked up to the door of the White House, it was locked. You remember that? The door was closed and it was locked, and there was no procession, there was no media there, there was nothing. The door was locked. I will never forget. You can probably go out and still find that video. Why was that? That's probably the first time ever in history that this has ever happened. And then we had all those videos where his hand was going through the microphones. And I did my own experiment here for some of you who might remember the day I did that. And that's called, it is literally just him using an AI background. He wasn't really there. That's what it was. He wasn't even there. People don't get it, and they'll never get it. And that's why they want to shut down your freedom of speech, because he wasn't there. I'm not even sure, was he ever there? I don't know. I'm with you guys. Maybe he was never there. Monica, early vote action can be done from your home, doing phone calls or sending postcards to voters. Yes, there is something everyone can do. Everyone can do something. Cruz says, bottom line is Trump needs 270, period. Everything else is glamour. You got that right. Let's do it. Adrian, CGI. Man, it's all CGI now, isn't it? It is all CGI. They can fake anything they want. I can do it right here, like I did that one day. I can change my background to anything I want it to be. And you know how you can tell I change it? Because when I move a certain way, my hands will go through things and my edges are a little off. You can tell. And I know that day that Biden was giving that interview and his hands were going through the microphone. That was definitely a similar situation where he was on a Zoom call or he was on maybe production studios like what I'm doing now, something along those lines. But he wasn't there at the White House that day. I know he wasn't. And I hope other people wake up and realize that he wasn't. Anyway, so much to talk about today. Some other things I want to get into. Heat warning. Here where I am, if you're in the St. Louis area, we're facing a potential heat index today of 110 to 115. Isn't that crazy? A heat index. That's hot. But more than anything, the reason why I'm talking about this and bringing it up, we've had a lot of hot days, is that what do Democrats want? What does Harris want? They want all electricity, don't they? They want us to run everything on electricity. They are banning natural gas. They are shutting down power plants. They want everything to run on electricity, but we can't support it. Our infrastructure cannot support all of that electricity. There are 13 states today who have already warned residents here in the US that you may have power outages today. There's a heat warning here in our area in St. Louis. I haven't heard us having any warnings, but we have had warnings in the past about using excessive electricity to try to stay cool or try to stay warm. We have stressed our power grid in the past. Right now, in our area, if you're here in Missouri or in Illinois, is Kansas City. Kansas City received that warning, and their warning came from Southwest Power Tool. It's a level 1 emergency alert that went out to Kansas City residents, and that was starting, I think, yesterday around 12:30 noon, something along those lines, up until 8 p.m. today, that they could potentially have blackouts because their power system, their power grids are stressed. It's happening all across the country. So how is that going to work? Because we know right now a good portion of people are using natural gas, they're using other means of power. How do we support 100% electric? I will never understand it. And then, of course, if you have a lot of different utility companies have rolled out these plans where they will give you a free or highly discounted smart thermostat, and you get your smart thermostat. Oh, what a deal! $200 thermostat, they're giving it to you for free. Well, as you know, nothing is free, is it? Nothing is free. Well, what's going to happen? And they've already started doing this in Colorado, California, some other states. That's because they want to regulate how much electricity you use. Okay, so go full electricity, full grid electricity, but then we're going to tell you how much you can use. And we're not just telling you, we're forcing you. Because if you have one of our thermostats, if you have a smart thermostat, whether you're dumb enough to put one up yourself or dumb enough to take one from the from the electricity companies, well, guess what? They're going to monitor you. They know exactly how much electricity you're using. And when you have reached the limit, they will shut you off. It's already happening in different parts of the country. And it's so funny to me that some of these people had no idea. They're not out looking for the truth. They're being lied to. They're brainwashed. They don't know. And these people in Colorado, they were like, well, I don't understand what's going on. I had my thermostat set to 70, and the next thing I knew it was on 85. I didn't do that. How's it? Well, your government's doing it, dummy. Wake up. Yeah, you put the smart thermostat up. Be smart about it. The government is controlling it. And yes, some of the smart thermostats are really neat. I get it. And it's nice to have that control where you can go on your phone and turn up or down and change the temperature. And some people have sensors around their home and can, alternate their sensors. And it's a very neat system, no question about it. But you know what? Don't allow the government to control your electricity. They're counting on that. Because remember how I just asked, how are we ever going to support every household being electric? They already have a plan, and that plan is that they are going to limit how much electricity you use because they are going to support the infrastructure of our power grids. They're not building new power grids. Have you noticed that? They're not building new power grids. They are not expanding the network to control more power. That's not happening because they're going to control you, not the electric grids. They're controlling you. So I want you to think about that during this heat warning over the next couple of days. And here I always thought we were heading into an early fall. But you know what's going on too? I thought I had never even heard of this before. And I live in an area full of cornfields. Corn sweat. Have you ever heard of corn sweat? Corn sweat is actually a thing Think about this. Here in Illinois, where I have moved to, we've talked about that plenty, and we'll get into that plenty more. Out in the rural area of central Illinois, here we have we have 12 million acres of corn here in Illinois. 12 million acres of corn. And it's true because everywhere I go, it is nothing but cornfields. I go fishing a lot. I go to these different lakes and different trails, and everywhere you go, it is nothing but cornfields and surrounded by cornfields, actually. Well, corn, as it matures, releases a lot of water and vapor into the atmosphere. And I read here, these are crazy numbers. 72,727 Olympic size pools a day. That's how much water vapor that corn releases in the state of Illinois. And what happens is that the water vapor going the up into the air in your region, it causes it to be very muggy, very humid, and then your body is not able to sweat. So they're releasing all of these reports talking about how dangerous it is to be outside during the times when the corn is most mature. First time I've ever heard of it, so it's new to me. Robert says in Michigan, we now pay different electricity rates based on peak, non-peak times, plus capacity versus non-capacity. That is maddening. Linda, I'm skeptical about the smart meters. I'm skeptical about everything, so I get it. If it says the word smart in it, nope, don't be smart. Don't be smart in that way. And Mary says next week better. Thompson, I know somebody was talking about their utility bill. I've openly talked about my utility bill. Last month it was like $989, I think. This month it was $788. I received it yesterday. That's for 1 month of electricity. Can you imagine that? Some people you can pay for an entire apartment or rent or whatever, a house payment for $900. It is out of hand, completely out of control. Our bills are. Adrian, have you heard of hail cannons? I have, and I've seen a hail cannon in action, and I'm kind of surprised they're allowed. Hail cannons, and if for anyone who doesn't know what a hail cannon is, and maybe you do, farmers, particularly, let's say if you have an orchard of peaches, and you are concerned that obviously one hailstorm could damage your entire orchard of peaches. And what will happen is you'll purchase a hail cannon. They're extremely expensive. I can't remember. I looked up the cost. I thought it was around $2 million, something like that for a hail cannon. But if you own a large scale orchard, obviously your profits over the years are going to be higher than the hail cannon. The hail cannon is going to save you a lot of money because, of course, every year we usually have some type of hail. But these hail cannons, what they do is they shoot this. I don't even know what it is. Maybe Adrian, you do. But these hail cannons, they shoot this something. I don't know what, sonic boom. I don't even know what's going on. But you see it, and it looks like this big giant smoke ring that goes boom, boom, boom up into the sky. And allegedly, I've not seen it in action, but allegedly it's so powerful, this beam that it sends up of energy it changes the weather. It's really, I don't even know how to explain it. I just came across it a couple weeks ago. It changes the weather. And it's so powerful that if you were watching, let's see, a meteorology channel or weather channel or looking on your weather app, you could see the hail cannon on the weather app because it will immediately go straight up through the storm and break it apart, which is insane. Some of you guys probably know a little bit more about it than I do. Kimberly says, Tabitha, that's an area is by my hometown, about 30 minutes from where I grew up. I have friends. Yes, I know we're so close, Kimberly. We'll have to meet up someday. I am right here. And I know no one. I don't know anyone in this town. Adrian, yes, I like a shock wave. It heats up the atmosphere where hail forms. It is crazy. And I would certainly think that we know that weather can be manipulated. If you can own an orchard and manipulate the weather, guess what? Let's see here. And you need a local permission as it interferes with the atmosphere. Yes, it absolutely interferes with the weather radar and so many other things. Adrian, like 40,000 feet in the atmosphere. It is crazy. So that's something to think about. How are we going to ever sustain all of this electricity? I will never know. But you know what? They're going to give it a try. They don't care because they'll be just fine. It'll be you who's sitting in the dark, not them. Not them. Colonel Joe Adams, I want to make sure I throw this out there. Colonel Joe Adams, I am not going to have a show tomorrow. And I think I mentioned this yesterday. And that is, well, I am going to have a show tomorrow. It'll be a replay, either probably last Wednesday or Friday. I'm going to do a replay of one of those shows. I haven't figured out which one yet. But I want to let you guys know that I did reach out to Colonel Joe Adams yesterday because we can't miss Joe Adams this week, Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard. And therefore, he's going to join us on Friday, which will be fun. Maybe we can talk to Colonel Joe Adams about some fun topics, not just the things that worry us, every day. I know he has so much valuable information for us. So I'm looking forward to talk to Colonel Joe Adams. And I also want to share this with you because I don't want you to forget about this. Is it not going to share? As some of you know, I have such a hard time sometimes with photos, and sometimes they share, sometimes they don't. I guess it's going to be one of those days where it's not going to. I'm trying, but I don't know what's going to happen. Oh, well, I will try again shortly, but I can see it. So while I'm looking at it, even though you guys can't see it, on September 7th, do not forget September 7th, if you go to the Washington Guard Facebook page or Washington Guard website, you can sign up. You can purchase a ticket to attend one of Joe's events. It is on, again, let me pull it up so I can tell you a little bit more about it. I don't know why some days on Restream it allows me to show my photos and some days it doesn't. Your guess is as good as mine, because I test everything before I come on and everything works fine. Then all of a sudden it doesn't. So on September 7th, The Price of Freedom. This is a Patriots banquet honoring real American heroes. And the featured speaker is Marshall Teague. Again, this is September the 7th from 5 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. This is going to take place at Trinity Hall in Washington, Missouri. You can go online and purchase tickets online. I am going to be there. I can't wait. I hope you guys are all going as well. And Dottie says, are you going to be doing a show on Labor Day? Yes, Dottie. I'm not taking any days off. If I'm not working, then I will definitely be doing a show. Now, if it's some crazy holiday and I'm out of town or something else going on, then maybe not. Good morning, Rob. So tomorrow, though, it will be a replay. I just want to make sure everyone, Allison, no, I am not speaking at the event on September 7th. I am not a good public speaker. It's a miracle I can get up and do a podcast and speak to all of you. And it's not easy by any means. I am not a public speaker at all. And Gina, let's see here. Cindy, I wish we could make it, but I already have plans. Darn it. I was looking forward to seeing you, Cindy. Well, hopefully some of you guys can make it. It'll be a really great day, a good opportunity to talk to Colonel Joe Adams, see the Washington Guard in attendance, see Marshall Teague. If you're not familiar with Marshall Teague, he was on several different shows, but he was also most known, at least for me, for being on Texas Walker Ranger because my stepfather watches it every single day, even now. So I watch it often. Allison says Jamie Allman is going to speak September 7th, and I love that. Jamie Allman, for any of you who know Jamie, he had his first show on News Talk STL last night. I believe it's starting at 7 p.m. I reached out to Jamie. I'm hoping he can join us one day and he can promote the show. I don't feel like any of us who are in the conservative talk business are competitors. We're all part of the same team. I have no problem promoting Jamie's show, just as he did me. Jamie, I was on Jamie Allman's show several times, and he's a fantastic person. And I hope you guys all check out his show on News Talk STL later this evening. He's a good guy, Jamie is. And I do hope he does decide to join us. I'm going to reach out to Dr. Naputi. Somebody recommended that to me. Not that I didn't think of it already on my own, but Dr. Naputi, also fantastic. Hoping he can join us someday. I don't know. He's a busy guy, but I'm certainly going to reach out and try. I'm going to do my best. So some of the other things I wanted to get to, and again, Joe Adams joining us on Friday. I'll be talking about that a lot tomorrow, just so everyone knows it'll be a replay. I'm not sure which show yet. Hopefully it works with my Restream software. Sometimes I really don't know what exactly is going to happen. You just never can tell. So some of the things I wanted to talk about again today, so much to talk about, with the situation with our election is heating up. Yesterday we talked about Trump and the top 20 of his 47 agenda, right? Fantastic. Every one of his 20 points is right on spot, right? Everything we need within those 20 points. And it is his Agenda 47. We're going to talk about that a little bit more as we go. But something else that's on his Agenda 47, it wasn't one of the top 20. And you guys may have already heard this. He wants to start, we already know we have Space Force, right? Well, Donald Trump wants there to be a Space National Guard. And you might be thinking, well, why would we need, and let's see, Jamie says, Jamie's on at 8 p.m. Thank you for that, Linda. Yeah, so Space National Guard. Why would we need a Space National Guard? We need a Space National Guard because there's a lot going on in space that most people don't know. A lot going on. As a matter of fact, there's almost a war taking place in space that's been going on for quite some time. You know, we have different countries taking shots at each other, not with guns, of course, but you know, we have different things going on in space where it's not just a race to have the best technology or to have the best satellites or to have the best space station. It's about control because when you control space, guess what else you control, right? I mean, we have such amazing technology now, things that we don't even know about that you can do from space. I have no doubt in my mind that some of these fires, wildfires, were started. And I know I sound crazy, but that's okay if you call me crazy. I absolutely believe they were started by satellites. EWs, right? It's a thing. Don't think it's not a thing. It is definitely a thing. We've seen it tested. Who's to say that they wouldn't use it for nefarious purposes? Those wildfires in Maui, I mean, it didn't make any sense. It really didn't. So many of them in California doesn't make any sense. There's a lot going on in space we don't know about. So I certainly do understand why we would have a need for a National Guard in space. It sounds crazy, and I know they're going to make fun of him, but it makes a lot of sense to me. As a matter of fact, there's an app out there. I'm not going to get into it now. We'll talk about it another day. But there is an app out there where you can request a light beam shine down to your house from space. You have to request it in advance, but there's a satellite up there that circles, several satellites that circle around the Earth. And if you request this light beam on a certain day, they can actually use some type of a mirror system to reflect from the sun to shine it down to your home. And of course, I signed up because I can't wait to see how that works. It is crazy what's going on, the things we don't even know about. Jay Harris using ad with Trump's border wall and how we need to crack down on the border. She's just copying Trump's policies and suddenly likes his wall. Well, of course, she's copying his policies because you know why? Because the people who vote for Harris, they don't know what Trump's policies are. They're not listening to Trump. They're not listening to us talk about Trump. They have no idea what Trump's policies are. No idea. And so, therefore, it's very easy for them to steal Trump's ideas. You know, Trump was the first person to come up with that idea of $35 uh, shots for diabetes. He was the first one to give $35 a month insulin shots. Everybody thinks it was Joe Biden's policy, but it wasn't. That belonged to Donald Trump. So many things belong to Donald Trump. They steal it because they know they can. Mary says only place she wants a wall is probably around the White House. She'll have to build one, literally. She will have to build one. Stacy says yesterday on OAN Live, President Trump was at Arlington Cemetery for the placing of the wreath for the unknown soldier. Isn't that the job of the president? I'm confused. Well, Stacy, the president, the alleged president, Joe Biden, was on the beach. I watched a video of him laying on the beach. Oh, he's checked out. He's gone. We talked about that earlier. He's checked out. He's done. He's not coming back. They don't even know what Harris policies are. No, Jay, they don't, because Harris hasn't really talked about any policies for the most part. We know that she is going to open the borders even further than they are now. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't get rid of our illegal ports of entry. Just open the floodgates, let everybody in. But again, we're making little bitty strides. We really are, because yesterday there was a judge who stopped the Biden Harris. It was a policy they came up with. I don't know if you guys heard about this or not. Last week, the Biden Harris regime passed, I think it was an executive order. And what they did is they allowed the spouses of US citizens amnesty. They allowed them to become US citizens. And this went on for about a week. A judge in Texas shut it down. They said, nope, we are not going to let this happen. And of course, if they're able to continue, just a temporary block, if they're able to continue with this executive order, what's going to end up happening is that, let's just say that, and you guys have all seen these videos, I think. I know I've seen them, I hope you have, where they show all these young men coming through the airport, meeting these old women, and they're getting married. The sometimes hundreds of weddings a day. And what's happening is people are coming here into the country either on a visa or some type of legal system, sometimes not a legal system. They've met these older women who have sponsored them to come into our country. And these people, these men, would not otherwise be able to become US citizens. They marry these old women, and I'm sure it happens the other way too, where women are coming in to our country and marrying men. And this system under Joe Biden gives these people amnesty. It allows them to fast track and become American citizens. And that's the people who come over on visas and other types of documentation. What about the people who don't come over on documentation? What about all of the illegals that cross our southern border? This allows them to marry an American citizen, and that gives them the right to become an American citizen themselves. It's wrong. It's messed up. I don't understand it. And it's part of this U.S. Citizenship Act that Kamala Harris is touting as one of her policies. They don't talk about it. They don't want anyone to know. It's crazy. But it gives legal status to the spouses of an American. Makes no sense, shouldn't be a thing, but it's happening. Adrian says everyone who has concealed the president's mental incapacity needs to be prosecuted, including Harris. Yes. Mary says legal migrants don't like it. Of course they don't like it. There are people who came here illegally. I know several people personally that were not United States citizens. They came here legally. They paid a lot of money to come here. They took the time out of their lives to take classes, on American citizenship. They went in, they were very proud the day they were sworn in under our flag, which they have so much respect for, and they became American citizens the right way. And it took years for some of these people to get through that process. And the only thing they wanted was to be an American. And they respect our flag, they respect our anthem, they respect our laws. Those people, of course, they're unhappy. They don't want to see this. They did things the right way. And now we're telling people just come on across the border with no documentation and we'll just give you full amnesty. You can become a citizen. You can be here legally. We'll give you a driver's license. We'll pay for everything for free. Of course, they're upset. I came across a guy one night. I was out, I don't remember where, with friends, and I don't know how I got started talking to this person, but he was explaining to me that he was a Marine in the United States military. He was born to an illegal. His mother came to our country illegally. She never left her house. She lived in fear because she was worried about being deported. But in the meantime, here in the United States, if you're here illegally, and you have children, your children are United States citizens. So he was a citizen and he wanted to make things change for his mother. He joined and served our Marines. He's a career Marine and so much respect for him. And he, talked about his mother and how she would like citizenship, but it's so hard. It's so hard to become a legal citizen here. It takes money, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes a lot of back and forth with attorneys. It is not easy. It is not easy. And she had done everything she can to become a United States citizen. But yet we have these people who just come across the border and here live out in the open. Like I just said yesterday, Delta Airlines forced right now. I don't know if they're forced or if they made the decision to hiring illegals. It's happening, and nothing we can do about it. Jay says Newsom wants to give them $150,000 to buy a house. California has lost their minds. They have lost their minds. Kevin, it wouldn't surprise me if our government starts paying people to marry illegals. I never thought about that, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. Not at all. And these men, like I was talking about, that come to the airport, you can see the videos. I've seen them on social media. It'll be this young guy, sometimes this nice looking 19, 20-year-old man that comes over from whatever country, and he's getting married to this 90-year-old woman. And now good, and of course there's a ring, and they look all happy, and they're taking advantage of these women for one. And they're just coming here to get citizenship. We have no idea who these men are. And it's a joke. The whole system is a joke. A joke. Yes, Mary. Delta Airlines hiring illegals. That's correct. So when you fly Delta, you're going to see illegals at the airport working for Delta. They could potentially be in the air with you, working in some capacity with Delta Airlines. It is a fact. It's happening. But like I said yesterday, the Department of Justice, they demand now that companies hire illegals. If you don't hire an illegal, you could be prosecuted by by the Department of Justice. It's crazy where this world is going. I sure wish I could pull these photos up for you. I don't know why I cannot, because there's a lot of things I really wanted to show you today, but I guess it's not going to happen. I don't know why my restream is so touchy on some days. Earlier today, I made a mistake. I went to load a couple of things and I accidentally loaded like 50 something thousand photos into my restream. And I had to go back and delete it all. So I was almost running late this morning getting on here trying to make sure I didn't show you guys every single photo. Not that there's anything there, a lot of political memes and silly stuff. But speaking of Trump, speaking of what's going on around the world, and there is so much going on around the world, as we know, I wanted to talk about a couple of different things. One is Donald Trump. How close really are we to World War III? He mentioned it in his speech yesterday that I played when he was talking about our third anniversary of the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Now he's talking about Russia. And I think it's important because there's a lot going on right now with Russia that you don't know. And I think before I show you Donald Trump's speech about World War III, I want to show you something. And I want to know if this bothers you as much as it bothers me. Now, I'm going to explain to you what this is before you see it. So, this is a drone crashing into a high rise in Saratov, Russia. This is a Ukrainian flown drone made by the United States crashing into a high rise again in Russia. And I want you to tell me if this reminds you of anything. And uh, I apologize, it's a little bit graphic and it's disturbing to see, but I want to make sure that you do see it.
Блять, это пиздец, сука! Это пиздец, 37-этажку прилетел, блять!
I'm going to play that one more time, just the beginning of it.
Блять, это пиздец, сука! Это...
That is a US made drone used by Ukraine crashing into a high rise, an occupied high rise in Russia. It is disturbing, Pam. It is absolutely disturbing. And why are we part of this? Why are we? Yeah, Mandy, it does look familiar, doesn't it? It looks very familiar. That's a drone. That's not an airplane. It's a drone that crashed into this high rise, an occupied high rise in Russia. Do you think Putin is just going to look the other way? This just happened yesterday. Is Putin going to look the other way? Probably not. Probably not. We know that yesterday there was a large scale attack. Russia's had enough of Ukraine and the United States and Europe and NATO. Again, and we've talked about it many times on the show, knee deep in Russia right now. They're killing Russian citizens. I've seen the videos. You've probably seen the videos. And that's why they don't want Telegram up, because I see the videos on Telegram. Because again, like I said yesterday, war has changed. Warfare has changed. Soldiers wear cameras. They live stream. They have cameras on these drones. There's cameras everywhere. You can see everything these days. It's like a video game. You see it all. And you're not going to see that on a lot of social media platforms, but you will see it on Telegram and maybe Rumble. I'm not sure. But I see it on Telegram and I share the videos quite often. That's where I found this video. And that's exactly why they want, of course, to censor what they call disinformation. They don't want us to know that this is going on. They don't want us to know. And have you been watching the news? Have you seen anything about all of the attacks into Ukraine. From what I hear, they're not showing it on the news. Right now, I want to show you what Kiev looks like. And hopefully that video loaded since I've had so many problems with some other things. We'll see if that happened. But I want you to see what Kiev looks like right now. Nope. And it's not going to happen. So I apologize. I might be able to add it if you guys can hang in there with me because I think you should see it. And I know I saved it, or did I not save it? Nope. Nope. It's gone. Sorry. You can see where my videos are. Anyway, sorry about that. I will do better for you tomorrow. I'm not sure what's going on with Crazy Restream. I wanted to show you what it looks like in Kiev today because they're sitting in the dark right now. Because yesterday there was a large scale attack, I should say, a retaliation against Ukraine and Russia. For the past 2 days, they have attacked Ukraine with drones, with Iskander missiles, and there's a lot going on that no one tells you about, no one talks about. No one talks about it. Pam says, this is why Trump talked about the Iron Dome, because of the war we face with drones. Yes, we give so much money to Israel to support their Iron Dome. And we absolutely do need a similar situation in this country. Allison, Russia has warships in Cuba. Yes, they do. And they certainly do. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. I want to show you this little clip from Trump because I want us to think about this. After seeing that video of what just happened in Russia, and to think that Russia is not going to retaliate, and to think when you watch the news, you have no idea what's happening because even Fox National, they're not talking about what's going on. They're definitely not going to tell you all of the truth. They'll give you a little sliver of truth, not all the truth.
Look at what's going on right now with Ukraine. They're surging into Russia, okay? You're going to end up in World War III, and it's going to be a bad one.
How close are we to World War III? I'd say we're pretty darn close. I said yesterday, it's like we have all of these pins in the air, and it's not a situation where we have one pin in the air and maybe we worry about that pin dropping. We have numerous pins in the air, and eventually one will drop. And what exactly is going to push us over the edge? Something is brewing. Something is brewing. Allison says Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran are building a coalition against the USA. Well, not building, already built. Already built. That's what BRICS is, Allison. BRICS is already there. And they, like I said, the past couple of days, or we talked about it yesterday, they are giving Palestine the right to be a free country. They are going to liberate. They've already said they're going to liberate Palestine. Now, what are they going to have to do that? As a matter of fact, they're awaiting the application for Palestine to join BRICS. And then BRICS and BRICS countries will be protecting the Palestinians. And Joe Adams chiming in on the comment line. Good morning, Joe Adams. On the threshold. We are on the threshold. I couldn't agree more. Some of the videos that I have seen, some of the information I have seen, it's alarming. We have Ukraine who has threatened, Zelensky has threatened to bomb, to send missiles into Moscow and St. Petersburg, Russia. Putin does not take these things lightly. Yesterday, Putin ordered his military to retaliate against Ukraine. And they sent several drones, hundreds of drones, missiles. Iskander missile hit right in the middle of Kiev and took out their power supply. They attacked their power grid. People in Ukraine right now largely do not have internet. They don't have power. And it's crazy to think that, why isn't anyone talking about this? I mean, Kiev is in the dark. There is a major war brewing. Why isn't anyone talking about it except for Donald Trump? That's it. Nobody else is talking about it. Only Donald Trump. Why don't people wake up and learn that when you turn on your television, you're looking at state-ran media. You are not looking at the news. You are looking at state-ran media. They don't want you to know how close we are to literally having World War III. And then you need to start asking yourself, are you prepared? Because I think I'm prepared. I don't think I am prepared enough. And we're going to talk to Colonel Joe Adams on Friday, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll see what we can get some information out of Colonel Joe, talk a little bit about what you do need to do to prepare. Brett says this Christian and Jew versus Muslim Wake up, folks. That's exactly what's going to happen. I've said this many times. I don't like to keep talking about it, but we in here in the United States, we're losing power quick. We really are. As a matter of fact, where did I read this? The yuan is up 2.5% over the US dollar. I know I wrote it down somewhere. I don't know where, but it is. The yuan is up 2.5% over the US dollar. We've got to start thinking about these things. And here we're giving all of our money to Ukraine. 170 million dollars of the aid sent to Ukraine is missing. This is new. We've had other aid missing before. This is different. This is new. 424 vehicles, 476 tons of various goods and products, 6.2 tons of food missing in Ukraine. Your dollars hard at work going to Ukraine and it's missing. How do you misplace 424 vehicles or 6.2 tons of food? How do you misplace that? Where is it? What in the world is going on? I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. And now we have and to Allison's statement, we have the first shipment of drones leaving Iran and heading to where? North Korea. North Korea is going to have drones. Do you trust North Korea with drones? I know I don't. I don't trust Kim Jong Un with a toy drone, let alone a real drone. I do not trust it at all. Russia, Putin has had enough. We keep hearing the word nuclear coming back into play. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because we've had so many different threats going back and forth about nuclear weapons and the difference between tactical and strategic nuclear weapons. And one of Putin's associates, one of his military leaders, recently talked about the fact that it's not out of question to use a strategic drone. I'm sorry, a strategic nuclear weapon. I apologize. A strategic nuclear weapon. And I want you to know the difference when you start hearing about the difference between the strategic and the and the tactical nuclear weapon, because tactical nuclear weapons, that's something I think that in my opinion, you see or would think of happening more often. Still devastating, but if they're going to use a nuclear tactical weapon against another country, that's more targeted. It's potentially going to be they're going to hit a command center, or they're going to use it to take out a large area of troops or something along those lines. That's tactical. Tactical is they're trying to win a war. They're going to use a tactical nuclear weapon. It's going to be smaller in size, probably on a drone, maybe dropped from an airplane, and they're going to target something very specific on a much smaller scale. Still very devastating because there is still nuclear fallout and, certainly devastating either way, but it's a much smaller scale. And a tactical nuclear weapon, they could probably possibly get away with using something like that without causing World War III, is my opinion. Joe Adams may disagree with me. I think that we're at a day and time where maybe they could get away with that. We used a strategic nuclear weapon. Think about that. A strategic nuclear weapon. That's what we did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It is used for wide scale destruction to completely annihilate certain regions and cities. So when you hear them talk about strategic nuclear weapons, tactical nuclear weapons, make sure you know the difference between the two. A tactical is small scale, hitting maybe a command building, hitting a military structure, hitting a group of troops to turn the tides of war. A strategic nuclear bomb, again, that is when they say they're going to wipe out the entire state of California or wipe out our entire East Coast. That's a strategic bomb. And don't think that these things aren't going to be talked about more in the future. And yes, Allison said, join the Washington Guard, man. Safety in numbers, that's all you can do. But know the difference, because it's not as hard as you think to launch a nuclear weapon. People think, oh, you think about the movies and what you see, and oh, it's you got. And yes, of course, our country, we have safeguards in place. We have certain people that need to be talked to in a chain of command that goes down. That's not the case in these other countries. You got one man sitting there ready to press a button in some of these places. You don't think that Iran, I wouldn't be surprised if they already have nuclear weapons. And Iran, they still have a plan. As a matter of fact, Iran has recently stated, they just gave an announcement yesterday. They released this message, and I wish I could show it to you. If my photos would work, I would. They released a message that said that on September 1st, they are restricting all flights above certain parts of Iran. And I saw that an analyst looked at this message and they said that these particular areas of Iran where they're going to restrict airfare starting September 1st, these are areas in which they launch missiles. And we know that Iran has said, hey, we're going to do this very strategically. We're waiting for the right time. You'll know when we're ready. And before we thought there was going to be this coordinated attack between Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and Iran. Now they're saying, nope, that's not going to happen. It will be clear sooner or later why we are doing this, but we are all going to retaliate individually, not together as a coalition, and not as a planned attack. And I think it's very telling that Iran, starting September 1st, indefinitely, there's no end date. They are stopping. They've warned every major airline, do not fly over these parts of Iran after September 1st. I think there's something coming. And we always know, I think every 9/11 here in the United States, we're always on guard, aren't we? We know that the chatter increases in these terror networks. And we know that on 9/11, we always have to worry about something happening because they're celebrating. We're in mourning. Well, they're celebrating what they did to us. And when they celebrate is when they often attack you, or on days where they think you're in mourning, that's when they feel like you're weak and they will attack us. So I think that September 1st could mean a lot to us here in the United States because they could be planning an attack directly on us potentially, or to our troops, probably not here in our homeland, but it could happen. Don't be naive to think it could never happen here because it could potentially happen here. And so that's something to think about. I agree with Trump. I think every day we're moving closer and closer to World War III. I think it is what the left wants. I think it's what they want. I think that they would love to see I think they would love to see a war start before the election. We all know, we don't have to get into it again. We all know what's going to happen if we end up in a war situation prior to the election. Landon, Iran will end up using an aerial nuke over Israel to eliminate all defenses with an EMP. They could. They could. We certainly know they have the technology to do that. And, when we fight with Iran, we fight with China, we fight with Russia, we fight with all of BRICS. It is going to come down to a war between NATO and BRICS. Think about that. That's where we're heading. And it's really scary. Mary says, has anyone tried the survival food for patriots? I have not. I know that survival food is a big deal. And I do think it's a lot easier to carry rations of dehydrated food or freeze-dried food versus cans. If you want to be lugging around your backpack or hurrying up and throwing food in your car, you don't want to be carrying 2 cases of green beans, right? You definitely want to carry freeze-dried or dehydrated foods. I know people who really like them. They're not my thing, but I know people who really like them. Now, of course, in a time if I've got to run out of my house and grab some food, I'm definitely grabbing some freeze-dried food. I have a lot of freeze-dried berries and some other things that I have in a kind of a ready place. Peanut butter. Peanut butter is something that's big because you can survive on honey. Believe it or not, take a jar of honey. You can survive on nothing but honey alone for quite some time. You can survive on nothing but peanut butter alone for quite some time. So think about that. 10 jars of peanut butter will get you very far, in fact. So those are things to think about. Dr. Fauci, I remember what was it last week, the week before, we saw the headlines, Dr. Fauci in the hospital over COVID. Remember, he tested positive for COVID. Well, now all of a sudden, the reports I'm hearing is that he's actually quite ill, but he doesn't have COVID. He has West Nile virus. And now, of course, we're seeing all these warnings about West Nile virus. Why? Because Dr. Fauci is allegedly hospitalized with West Nile virus. And as Robert said, there's areas in Michigan, I think he said Michigan, that are completely shut down. Uh, they have curfews at night to make sure people are outside, to taking the chance of getting bit by a mosquito and getting West Nile virus. I know in my area, we have West Nile virus in the area. I still go outside at night and I'm swarmed by mosquitoes sometimes. And I guess I just hope I don't get it. I don't want to live in fear that I might go outside and a mosquito might bite me and infect me with West Nile. But there's a lot going on in lockdowns. There are. I mean, think about that. Curfews here in the United States, and it's not just Michigan, it's all over the place. There are curfews here in the United States right now where they are telling citizens do not come out after dark. We have West Nile virus in your area. And if you come out after dark, you are risking becoming infected. You may be bit by a mosquito. I think that's a story for another day. But I think that doesn't it maybe have something to do? Remember all those mosquitoes, those DNA mosquitoes they sent out? What did they do? Oh gosh, I wish I could recall. There were a bunch of mosquitoes vaccinated. And you think, well, how can you vaccinate a mosquito? You put them in a box and a large container and you spray the vaccine into the box and they ingest it and they become vaccinated. But they changed the DNA in all these mosquitoes. They vaccinated mosquitoes, hundreds of thousands of mosquitoes they let go to fight the Zika virus. Do you remember that? And then all of a sudden now we have this huge increase in West Nile virus. I don't hear as much about Zika virus these days. Jay, they do know mosquitoes bite in the daytime too. Landon, weaponized bugs. Pam, a friend of mine has had West Niles. He was in the hospital for several weeks. It's a very serious illness, isn't it, Pam? West Nile is a very serious illness. No question about it. But what do? COVID was a very serious illness for immunocompromised people, right? But what do you do? And I know West Nile is different because you don't have to be necessarily immunocompromised. Are you going to stay in your home? Are we going to lock down? Are we not going to go to the polls because we might get bit by a mosquito? Where is this all going? I would like to know, where is it all going? And like I talked to you guys the other day, yesterday, I'm hearing from parents right here in the St. Louis area saying that their schools are talking to them about vaccinating their children for monkeypox. A long time ago, of course, they vaccinated kids. It was a mandatory vaccination for smallpox. Remember that? I just missed it. I never got that one, but just barely did I miss it when they stopped doing it. I think that was in 1977, 1978, something along those lines. I did not have one. But now they're talking about bringing the monkeypox vaccine into schools, very much like what they did with the smallpox vaccine. I don't understand it because what are the odds that your child is going to catch monkeypox? It doesn't spread in the same way that smallpox did. It really doesn't make any sense. And now we're hearing that in the UK, they are having pandemic type lockdowns over COVID. That's happening. Now, nothing in the UK should surprise us because they're also arresting citizens for posting on social media. But they have schools closing in the UK over COVID. It's happening. And don't think that it can't also happen here. Now, the question is, what do we do to stop it? What do we do to stop it? Because I know if you're like me, it's not going to happen here again. It's not going to happen here again. It's not going to happen to me. And is not going to happen. That's all I can say. They're not going to keep me at home. They're not going to tell me I can't go to the store. I don't have any school children, but if I did, over my dead body, would they be vaccinating my child? I don't know what to do to stop what's coming to us. Let's see, Pam, hopefully he won't have mosquitoes out in November, right? Right. He'll probably release the mosquitoes on us before November. They'll be everywhere. And don't think that they don't have the ability to do that. I know I'm putting my tinfoil hat on a lot today, but don't think they don't have the ability to release mosquitoes or something, along those lines to say, hey, you can't come out because West Nile virus, oh my God, there's thousands of mosquitoes swarming around outside of your house and swarming around the polling locations. And God forbid you can't get out and go because you might get West Nile virus or encephalitis or something else. Donna, I fear that the masks are coming back. Nope, Donna, not for us. They're not. There's a lot of new commercials with everyone wearing masks. I have not seen the commercials, Donna, but I've heard about it. And they are certainly trying to normalize it once again. And it won't be so hard this time. It'll be harder for some of us. They'll never get us. But just think there are still people who wear masks. I still see them. You probably do too. I still see people wearing masks. I will go to the store and see people walking around. I'll see people driving in their cars. I'm thinking, what in the world? Why would you voluntarily wear a mask? You're alone. I saw a lady out walking a couple days ago wearing her mask. I'm like, you're alone. Why are you out walking down the street wearing a mask? I don't get it. Jay says, my daughter had it last week, confirmed by test because her friend had it. Her doctor said we don't need to quarantine and just treat it like a flu for 24 hours without fever, good to go. Exactly, Jay. And that's what we should be telling people, but we're not. We're not. Well, we are. Donna, sometimes I wear a mask in the store because I have a chemical sensitivity. And there's nothing wrong with that, Donna. And that's why I try to be careful when I see people out because I know everyone's fighting their own battles. You know, there is someone I know who is very immune compromised. They had cancer and they're in remission and they wear a mask to protect themselves against everything. You know, I don't think the mask works. I'm never going to tell them that, but they do it. And chemicals are a different story, Donna. It could potentially protect you from that. Cindy, I'm going to try to take advantage of more library programs. Last night, the author wrote about the I-70 serial killer. Thursday evening, they're having a speaker on human trafficking awareness. Cindy, was this for that Stand Up? Is it Stand Up Missouri? Something along those lines? I'm curious what kind of meetings you went to. The I-70 killer, I'm very familiar with. I wrote a blog post about it on my blog, quite some time ago. I write a crime blog and still out on the loose. We don't know who the I-70 killer is, but it is certainly fascinating. Jay says, I see older people wearing them because of allergies. I mean, if you want to wear a mask because of chemical, allergies or other types of allergies, that's your right to do so. I have a family member who has severe hay fever, severe, and I have seen them wearing a mask. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with wearing a mask if you want to wear a mask. The difference is when they start coming out and telling us that you have to wear a mask. When they start normalizing it once again and telling people you have to wear a mask. Or what are they going to come up with when it comes to West Nile virus? What are they going to tell us to do outside of coming in at night? I mean, like you guys said, like there's no mosquitoes during the day. It doesn't make any sense. And Paula asked, Cindy, is this in St. Charles? I know that there was like a stand-up meeting that has been taking place that I was planning on talking about because I would love to know more about these meetings because I know people would like to go. And Jay says he did one at the library in Troy. Let's see here. We're speaking about the haunted locations in Alton. Alton is definitely haunted because you know why Alton's haunted? Because of the policies they used to have over smallpox. Remember that? And of course, because of the Civil War. In Alton, Illinois, if you're not familiar, you probably already know this. In Alton, Illinois, way back in the day when smallpox was a pandemic, what they would do with all of the small people who had smallpox, people who were presumed to have smallpox, they'd ship them all off to an island to let them die. And so therefore, it lends to Alton being one of the most haunted cities in all of the United States. And what would they do with us now? What if smallpox came around now, monkeypox? Are they going to hurt us all, gather us together and sending us off to smallpox island, to die? Who knows? I don't trust anything they're going to do. I know that, and you guys know, remember when we don't know who, we're guessing FEMA, bought all of those old Walmart stores and closed the Walmarts. They put the big fences up around the Walmart stores, and we all talked about it at the time, wonder what was going on and why is this happening? Well, I don't know, but those, from what I understand, those Walmart stores are still sitting there, still sitting empty, still guarded. I don't know what's going on there, but don't be surprised if something like this happens. Don't be surprised. We always think it'll never happen to us, but it can and it will. So I want to switch gears for a minute. We can get back to some of this when I come back on Thursday. Just another reminder that I will not have a show tomorrow. Well, I will, but it'll be a replay. And then Friday, Colonel Joe Adams will be joining us. I will be here on Thursday, just as normal. On Friday, Colonel Joe Adams will be joining us. We'll talk about the Washington Guard and some other things that we're talking about. We'll get his idea of what he thinks is going on in Russia and Ukraine. And are we heading towards an imminent World War III? Is it just, a possibility? Where are we going in the world with all of that? Something to think about. But I wanted to go back to Trump because Trump has his Agenda 47. We know that Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Trump, and I want to play her speech because I really like Tulsi Gabbard. And, we can say she's not one of us, she's not a conservative, and that she's still not quite where we need her to be. But you know what? I am happy to have her on her side. I know a lot of conservatives, Republicans have very mixed reactions about Tulsi Gabbard and even RFK Jr. being on Trump's side. But I think that Tulsi is somebody that we can count on. I think she brings a good base to us. And she's a military member. She's a veteran, former military veteran. Good person, I think. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to show you her endorsement very quickly here.
Because I am confident that his first task will be to do the work to walk us back from the brink of war. We cannot be prosperous unless we are at peace. And we can't live free as long as we have a government that is retaliating against its political opponents and undermining our civil liberties, weaponizing our very institutions against those they deem as a threat. Kamala Harris has done this over the last 3.5 years. She won't hesitate to continue that if she is elected as president. President Trump has been their first and foremost target in this because they don't want us as voters to even have the option to vote for him. I've been their most recent target, added to a secret domestic terror watch list after exposing the truth about what kind of dangers we would face if Kamala Harris is elected as president. We as Americans must stand together to reject this anti-freedom culture of political retaliation and abuse of power. We can't allow our country to be destroyed by politicians who will put their own power ahead of the interests of the American people, our freedom, and our future. I am proud to stand here before you today, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent. If you love our country, as I do, if you cherish peace and freedom as we do, I invite you to join me in doing all that we can to save our country and elect President Donald J. Trump and send him back to the White House to do the tough work of saving our country and serving the people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Boy, they messed up coming after Tulsi, didn't they? They really messed up coming after Tulsi. Because, in the show, when I do the replay tomorrow, just in case you do tune in, I know most of you have already seen the show, so you might not want to see it again. I totally get it. Totally understand if you don't want to watch a replay. But I'm gonna recall the show, if you recall last week, where we played the back-to-back Tulsi Gabbard videos. The one video in which she explains what the deep state is, kind of tells us who is not running the show in Washington, D.C. versus who actually is behind the curtain. And because of her releasing that interview, guess what happened? One day later, she was put on the Quiet Skies terror watch list. And now when she flies, she has to have a air marshal fly on the same flight to keep an eye on her. Man, they mess with the wrong person because now she has had enough. And I think she's going to be a very strategic part of the Trump administration going forward. Let's hope and pray there is a Trump administration because I think she will be absolutely fantastic. Pam says, I wish Trump would have picked her as a running mate. Pam, I can see that. I might have been against that a while back because I'm one of those people who said, well, I like her, but she's not necessarily one of us. And people have brought up that at one point she did back Bernie Sanders. And that terrifies me. And why she did that, I don't know, but it kind of gives me a little bit of hesitation with her. But I do think it would have pulled a lot of people in because she's a female and because she is very outspoken. She is kind of a little bit further than most of us. She's a little bit further to the left, I think, than most of us are. Or maybe she's not. I need to give her a little bit more of a chance. Allison says, "What a waste of Air Marshal's resources." It is. She's a former military. She's a veteran. She's not going to harm anybody. It's absolutely ridiculous, is what that is. But exactly, Jay. They say they don't want to weaponize the system, and that's a part of why Trump came out, and part of his Agenda 47 is exactly that. He's going to stop this weaponization of the Department of Justice. He has to. All of these intelligence agencies, they've got better things they could be doing, but they're not. They're all watching us. Monica, he wants let's see here. I like he wants them in his cabinet. I wouldn't want her as a VP. Yeah, I'm very happy about her being in the cabinet along with RFK Jr. and even Elon Musk. I'm actually happy about Elon Musk. Some of you I know probably trust him a lot less than I do. I'm happy he is going to be part of Trump's administration. I think that's a really good move on the Trump campaign's part. There's a lot that's going on. A lot that's going on. Political persecution right now is at an all-time high. We started out the show talking about Telegram and how the UK, all of Europe is coming after Elon Musk and the founders, of course, of Telegram and Rumble. We'll talk about that more. Maybe by Thursday when I have another live show, we'll have more updates. Europe said yesterday we're going to hold Pavel Durov until at least Wednesday tomorrow. So we'll see how that plays out, if they release him, if they don't release him. Paula says, so what is going on with Mark Zuckerberg? Well, Mark Zuckerberg, as many of us have heard, he has come forward and he has stated that the Biden-Harris campaign told him to censor free speech on his Meta platforms. And by censor free speech, we know that they mean disinformation, what they call disinformation, truth. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, Paula, but I remember in 2020, like we said earlier, it was so much worse than it is now. I kind of wonder if Zuckerberg has switched sides a little bit. Like I talked about earlier in the show, he likes his money. He likes his beautiful estate in Hawaii and the bomb shelter or underground shelter that he's built. He doesn't want to go bankrupt under Harrison any more than any of us do. I'm kind of wondering me switching, because Zuckerberg, if you guys recall, when the assassination attempt took place, Zuckerberg actually reached out to Trump. This is Trump's own words, that Zuckerberg reached out to him and said that he was badass. He's like, man, I can't believe you did that. You were shot at, you got a nick on your ear, and here you are, you raise back up and tell people to fight. I think that Zuckerberg might be switching sides. We'll see if that happens. I'm not 100% on board with that idea yet, but I think that something is going on. And we've heard the reports that Silicon Valley is heavily turning towards Trump. Why? Because they like their money. They like their things. These companies are about capitalism. Harrison Walls, they're not going to be about capitalism. They're going to be against capitalism. So I think we're going to see a lot of people turning tides and a lot of people coming out to support Trump, even if they do so quietly. That wouldn't normally happen, because it really has come down to capitalism versus socialism. And they like making money. They sure do. Yep, Jay, they do. They like making money. Lana says Elon will probably end up Space Force in some way. He might be. That would be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? He already does a lot for the government. As a matter of fact, the NASA has chosen SpaceX to bring back the 2 astronauts that are stuck. They are literally stuck in space. I think it was the Starliner flight, if I can recall correctly, that took them up. They were supposed to be there for a week. And now they have finally determined that the capsule they went up in is not going to be able to bring them back down. So they're going to have to send up a rescue mission, and NASA has determined that SpaceX will carry out that mission. And Paula, also companies are dropping their DEI programs. Yes, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It does not work. And do you recall, speaking of Elon Musk, with SpaceX, one of the things that happened to him and that he had spoken out is that the government attempted to tell Elon Musk that he had to also have DEI policies. And he said, no, that is not how his company runs. He hires people based on skill. Imagine that, based on skill, not on gender or race. He hires people based on them being able to do the job. The person who does the job best is the person he hires. Shouldn't it be that way in every industry? It used to be. It used to be. Although there was also a time where companies, of course, didn't want to hire people of different races and didn't want to hire women. Even when I was younger, there was a lot of companies that wouldn't have hired me just because I was a woman. Things have changed a lot. But you know what? We don't need DEI implemented to say you have to give this job to a woman or to somebody of a different race just because they're a woman or of a different race. We have to have these DEI programs ended. No question about it. Allison, SpaceX is more efficient than NASA. And Mary, why do they have to wait until February to get them? Well, you have to wait for a lot of different things. One, it takes a while to get another mission ready to make sure everything's in order. Also, you have to enter space at a certain type of weather, a certain type of day. You have areas of space, from what I understand. I am certainly not part of NASA, so I don't know. But from what I understand, your trajectory path has to make it through certain areas, certain timelines. So it takes a while to get all of these things on track, is what I'm told. I don't know. Landon, let's go to space on a Boeing flight. This is one person who will never be in space. Never. I don't like space. Not going to happen for me. And yes, also the correct window for launch. That is absolutely right, Jay. So there's a lot going on. We got to keep our head on a swivel, start thinking about what's going on around us. Something that I want to talk about briefly before we go is powdery mildew. I mean, I'm really switching gears here, but I don't even understand. This is my first year where I've had a large scale garden. In the past, and that gardening is something we talk about a lot because obviously we talk about homesteading and gardening and prepping and different things on this show. As a matter of fact, I plan on talking about it a lot more than what I do now. We're going to talk about it a little bit more on Friday also, and maybe even on Thursday. But I have this big garden, my first time having a garden and not having I've always planted tomatoes and peppers and small scale things. This year I went big and it's not been easy, but I have pumpkins, some different types of winter squash, watermelons, and so on planted in my garden right now. And I am having powdery mildew in a really bad way. And I don't even know how to get rid of it or what to do with it. But it is making its way through my squash plants so fast. And I finally broke down. I was dead set that I wasn't going to use any type of spray on any part of my garden. And I haven't. I have used absolutely nothing. And the other day I finally broke down. I'm like, I can't lose all of my winter squashes and my pumpkins and the things that I really want to see, this fall and wintertime. And I use something called Rose RX. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. Rose RX. And this is my first time I've ever had to spray for anything. I've never had to deal with any of this stuff before. Definitely never had to do anything with powdery mildew. But man, that stuff is sweeping through my garden. If any of you have any suggestions on things you've done to get rid of powdery mildew, please let me know. As a matter of fact, you can text me on the show text line. It's 314-546-2677. And Allison says, do you have squash bugs? I don't think so. I've not seen anything that looks like a squash bug. I do have something that looks like a cricket. I'll post a picture of it later on social media. I finally took a picture of it yesterday, but I don't believe it's a squash bug. I don't know what's going on in my garden. I would, if any of you know of someone who is a gardening expert, somebody who does this for a living, I would love to have them on the show. I'm going to be looking for someone separately that can join us each week for a little gardening segment to talk about what type of seeds we should be planting, what things we should be doing with our garden to have the healthiest, because at some point we're going to have to be self-sufficient. We're going to have to grow our own food. And there's going to be things that we're going to all have to become proficient at that maybe we've never done before, like me with gardening. I know nothing about gardening. And so I'm learning. I've had a lot of successful things and I've had probably more failures than success, but that's how we learn, isn't it? So I'm okay with that. I'll get right back at it next week. Jay says, sounds like it could be spider mites, not mildew. I don't think so. I mean, the leaves have the white powdery look on them. I'll have to post some pictures later on social media. I have a picture actually, but my pictures aren't working for some reason on Restream here. So I'll get to that later. But anyway, my time is about up. I just want to thank everyone for joining me once again today. I appreciate all of the support. If you like the show, share the show. We have to keep the truth alive. Make sure, if you haven't already, support the people who support us. go to these platforms, go to X, go to Telegram, go to Rumble, create an account. You don't have to use it. Just go on there and create the account and show your support. As a matter of fact, it makes such a big difference that in France, after Pavel Durov of Telegram was arrested, guess what? Telegram app became the #1 app in France in the social media category. It became the #3 app overall in France. Why? Because people are fighting for their freedom because they see that their freedom of speech is being taken away. We have to do the same thing. Get out and support these platforms who support us because we have to fight for our First Amendment rights. Because as you know, when the First Amendment rights are taken away, everything else follows. Everything else follows. Do not ever forget that. Anyway, hope to see you all on Thursday. I hope you guys all have a great day. I will miss all of you tomorrow, but I will be playing a replay show. So if you want to check that out, it will be here for anyone that may have missed it. And again, I hope you all have a great day. I'm Tabitha with Tabs on Tap, and I will see you all on Thursday. And don't forget, Dr. Eric Naputi, hopefully joining us in the near future. But what I meant to say was, of course, Colonel Joe Adams joining us on Friday with the Washington Guard. Can't wait to talk to him. Hope you guys all have a fantastic day. Thank you, Pam. You also, Karen, have a good day. And you also, Landon, hope you guys all